G'day folks, Costo here once again as the host of Bushbeat, where our focus of course is country rugby league right across the great southern land. In this particular episode you'll hear from the president of the mighty Yeppoon Seagulls on Queensland's magnificent Capricorn coast, plus the coach of the Biggin Warriors in the Central Burnett. And why? Well, because both of them are as happy as Larry after their respective clubs tasted grand final success last weekend. But before that, our statewide wrap for New South Wales plus the ACT. That's next here on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Now let's go right around New South Wales, starting with the Denton Cup in Newcastle. Last weekend, the final round, and a real upset this one, Curry. They knocked over Maitland 14 points to 12. In the other game, Cessnock beat Central 20-15. Western Suburbs steamrolled the Hawks 56-10. Wyong too good for Macquarie, 50 points to 22, and the entrance 12-10 winners against Souths. The final standings, Maitland finishing with the minor premiership on 29 points, Cessnock second on 26, Wyong 25, the Rosellas and the entrance both on 24. Missing the cut, Central and Curry both on 22, Souths 18, Macquarie 14, Lakes 12, and the Hawks on 4. Coming up, week one of the playoffs. On Saturday, we've got Cessnock at home to Wyong from 3 o'clock. And 24 hours later, West's hosting the entrance. Maitland as the minor premiers, of course, having the weekend off. In Group 21, last weekend, the major semi-final, Singleton knocked over the minor premiers Greater Branxton 24-12. And in the knockout semi, Scone too strong for Aberdeen, 44-16. This Sunday, the Colts seeking redemption and a place in the season decider. They're at home again for the preliminary final against the Thoroughbreds. 2:30pm is the kickoff. In Group 4, the semi-finals last weekend, Moree booking their place in the GF. The Boars beating Gunnedah 30-26 and Werris Creek 32-22 over Boggabri. This Saturday, the preliminary final at Kitchener Park, where Gunnedah have home ground advantage against Werris Creek. Kickoff is 2:45. In Group 19 last weekend, the preliminary final, Tingha beat Uralla 38-20. This Sunday, grand final day at Varley Oval, where it's minor premiers and hot favourites Inverell up against Tingha from 2:30. Good luck to both teams. In the Northern Rivers, last weekend, Bilambil 56-24 over Evans Head. Ballina defeated Kyogle 54-16. Mullumbimby 40-16 winners over Tweed Heads. Casino crushed Northern United 64-16. Coogin prevailed 48-10 against Byron Bay. 20 all between Tweed Coast and Murwillumbah. And third last lower Clarence finished the season by forfeiting to Marist Brothers. The final standings, Coogin 29 points, Marist Brothers 25, Bilambil 24, Ballina 21, Murwillumbah 20, Casino 19, Mullum 17, Evans Head 14, Tweed Heads and Kyogle 13, Tweed Coast 12, Lower Clarence 9, Northern United and Byron Bay finishing on 4 points. Coming up, 2 elimination finals. On Saturday, Bilambil hosts Casino. And then on Sunday, Ballina at home to Murwillumbah. Both games start at 3:10. In Group 2 last weekend, the knockout semi-final, Nambucca beat Coffs 42-16. And in the major semi, Sawtell defeated minor premiers Woolgoolga 18 points to 8. This Sunday, the Seahorses reload for the Roosters in what they say is a qualifying final. We'll call it a preliminary final. Kickoff is 2:10, and the winner to play Sawtell in the big one. In Group 3 last weekend, round 3 catch-up matches were cancelled. No idea why. Officials seemingly unable to tell us, or at least say so publicly. Coming up, finals footy, Warhope versus Wingham on Saturday at Lankbane Sporting Complex. And on Sunday, it's Olbar v Macleay Valley at the Graveyard. Both games starting at 3 o'clock. On the Central Coast last weekend, Toukley 20-18 over the entrance. Wyong wiped out Terrigal 58-0. Kincumber prevailed 42-22 at Woy Woy. And Arimba at home to Berkeley Vale, where the Magpies won 27-20. The current standings, Erina 29 points, Toukley 25, Kincumber 23, the entrance and Wyong 22, Woy Woy, 16, Arimba 14, Terrigal 10, and Berkeley Vale 7. This Sunday, according to the schedule, we've got Wyong v Terrigal, and that's the Roos hosting that game, obviously, at 1:20. And then from 3:05, home teams first, Arimba v Toukley. And we've got the entrance v Erina and Woy Woy v Berkeley Vale. In the Macarthur, the final round, the Oaks beat Mittagong 32-24, Collegians 38-30 over City, Camden crossed for plenty of tries, in blitzing the Goannas 66-12, 17 all between East Campbelltown and Picton, and Narellan they forfeited to Oakdale Workers. The final standings, Camden, the Rams, the minor premiers once again, they finished on 34, Collegians 28, Oakdale 26, the Oaks 25, Mittagong 22, City 21, Picton 19, East Campbelltown 17, Thirlmere 12, Goannas and Jets on 8. This Sunday, finals action at Wilminda Oval. And from 1:15, it's the Oaks v Mittagong for the second time in a week. This time it's sudden death, of course. And then from 3 o'clock, Collegians v Oakdale Workers in a qualifying final. In the Illawarra, last weekend, week 1 of the finals, De La Salle 34-22 over Corrimal and Western Suburbs 24-22 winners against Dapto. This Saturday, week 2 of the finals at Collies. Minor semi-final between Dapto and De La Salle from 1 o'clock, followed by the major semi, Dogs and Devils at 3. In Group 7, the final round last weekend, Shellharbour Sharks routed Nowra 64 points to 12. And, I beg your pardon, it was the penultimate round last weekend, so I'll start again. Shellharbour Sharks routing Nowra 64-12. Gerringong beat Stingrays 22-10. Milton 26-4 over Berry. And Albion Park wiped out Jamboree 54-0. The ladder, Sharks, Kiama and Stingrays all on 25. Albion Park 23, Gerringong 22, Milton 14, and then 3 teams on 12. Jamboree, Nowra and Berry. Coming up, the final round on Saturday, Albion Park at Berry, the Sharkies at Jamboree, and the Rays at home to Kiama. And on Sunday, Nowra v Gerringong at Bomber. All games start at 3 o'clock. In Group 16, last weekend in the finals, Eden knocked out Cooma 10-4 and Tathra. A shock scoreline here, 22-0 over Merimbula Pambula. The Bulldogs lacking plenty of bite in that game. This Sunday, Dogs v Eden at Cooma. Kickoff is 2:45. The winner to play the Eagles in the grand final. In Group 9 in the Riverina, the matches last weekend, all the home teams had success. The Pickers beat Temora. Young, too good for the Dragons, winning 24 points to 18 at Alfred Oval. Roos defeated Tumut 26-18. Junee 36-16 over Albury. And Gundagai belting Brothers 70 points to 12. And South City Bulls 36-6 over Cootamundra. And the Bulls retaining the Challenge Cup in the process as Cleve McGee finished up as coach at Harris Park. The final standings, Kangaroos, the minor premiers on 30 points. Gundagai second on 24. Young 22, Temora 21, Tumut 19, and outside the 5, Albury 16, Junee 12, South City 10, Coota 6, Brothers winless, finishing on 0. This weekend, the start of the finals. Firstly, on Saturday from 2:35, we've got Temora v Tumut at Nixon Park. The loser gone for the season. And on Sunday again from 2:35, it's Gundagai v Young at Anzac Park, I beg your pardon. And the winner to get a shot at Roos for a grand final place. The loser to play either the Dragons or the Blues. In Group 20, Waratahs last weekend, 52-20 over TLU. Hay, 28-18 winners against Leeton. DPC defeated Yanko 40 points to 6. And West Wyalong forfeiting to Black and Whites. The table, Waratahs and DPC on 28, Leeton 22, Hay 19, Black and Whites 18, Yanko 17, Yenda 16, Sharkies 14, the Mallee men on 8. Coming up the final round on Sunday, DPC hosting the Sharks, Waratahs at home to Yanko, Black and Whites at Leeton and Yenda off to West Wyalong. It's a 2:30 kickoff for all games. In the PMP last weekend, week 2 of the playoffs, in semi-final number 1, Mudgee beat Wellington 26-22, and in semi-final number 2, Orange Sims 28-24 over Orange Hawks. This Sunday, 2 preliminary finals. We have got the game at Forbes, Magpies v Mudgee from 2 o'clock. And then from 2:30 at Apex, it's Dubbo Sims versus Orange Sims. In the Woodbridge Cup, last weekend's finals action, Manildra 32-12 over Canowindra and Oberon beat Molong 28-20. The game that we said last week between Cargo and Ugara, well, there was no such game. That was a mistake by the league, hence we made the mistake as well. Coming up, the grand final on Sunday. Good luck to both teams. Oberon hosting Manildra. Kickoff is 2:30 in that premiership decider. In the Castlereagh, last weekend, the preliminary final at Narromine, and this was a cracking match from all reports. Coona beat the Jets 40 points to 38. This Saturday, grand final day at Coolah, where the Roos welcome the Unicorns. Kick-off is 2:30. To the ACT and the Canberra Raiders Cup, last weekend's action, catch-up matches from round 7 to be precise. Tuggeranong hammered Yass 62-12, Woden Valley 46-14 over Belconnen United, 20-all between West Belconnen and Gungahlin, and Roos 22-16 over Goulburn. The final standings, Roos 26 points, Blues 22, West Belconnen and Tuggeranong 20 points, Woden Valley 17, Gungahlin and Belconnen United 11, Goulburn 9, Yass 6. Coming up on Saturday, the major semi, eternal rivals go head-to-head. It's Roos v Blues. Doesn't get much better than that in this part of the world. The venue is the Sears Workwear Oval. And then from kickoff, from 3 o'clock. And then on Sunday, the minor semi, West Belconnen v Tuggeranong. And Raiders Belconnen is the venue, and again, the kick-off is 3 p.m. Finally, the George Took Shield. Last weekend, the final round at Boorowa. Rovers 28-14 over Crookwell. Harden showed no mercy in punishing UC Stars 80-0 at McLean Oval. At Jindabyne, Snowy River Bears flogged the Goannas 40 points to 12, and Bynalong Brahmins won 22-20 at North Canberra. And the final standings, unfortunately, the portal doesn't tell us for some reason. Coming up, the qualifying final on Saturday. And for the second time in a week, we have Rovers v Green Devils. Again, the venue is Boorowa. Kick-off is 2:30. And then on Sunday, it's do or die. Harden versus neighbouring Bynalong. No love lost between these two teams. And that's at McLean Oval. Again, the starting time is 2:30. That's New South Wales and the ACT, done and dusted for another week. Coming up, a club president from Central Queensland who's on cloud 9 as we speak, after his team lifted the trophy. Steve Stafford from Yeppoon Seagulls is next, right here on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Let's now go to the beautiful Capricorn Coast in central Queensland. I love this part of the world. Back in my glory days, I used to read the 6 o'clock news and do stuff like that, overlooking Great Keppel Island, the beef capital of Rockhampton. This bloke joins us from Yeppoon on the Capricorn Coast, and he's pretty happy. And that's because Steve Stafford is the president of the Seagulls, and it was Yeppoon Seagulls who lifted the trophy last Saturday night. Steve, as we speak, have you come down from cloud 9?
I don't think so yet, Jason. It was an enormous effort from our boys and all our staff. So, I'm still celebrating.
Well, as you should be, because the opposition in this game, they were the raging hot favourites. That's the Emu Park Emus. But the form guide went out the window.
Yeah, mate, we tried to save our best till last. You don't win at the start of the season or midway, and we've had a few struggles. So I think the boys performed they got a big belief in themselves, and I think they showed that. There's a good culture there with them. So, yeah, it's good.
Now, I've seen the 6 o'clock news on local TV in the wake of the grand final, and Sam Holzheimer, your inspirational captain, it's his last game, or it was his last game. What a way to go out with the Gulls.
Mate, Sammy's probably been one of our most inspirational players for a long time. Just the win for him, and I think that's what brings the boys together. They have a lot of respect for him, and he is a legend. He is what clubs are made of. So, he's a brilliant footballer and a great person.
Now, you've been involved with the Seagulls for a long time, and I have read somewhere that you've compared him with some of the greats in your club history, that Holzheimer, as far as you're concerned, he's up there with the best in terms of captaincy of your beloved Yeppoon Seagulls.
Yes, mate. He's also... He was one of our first juniors, and at a very young age he was told he wasn't going to go very far from that. And then he's fought on, and to be honest, mate, I don't remember a captain that's led from the front and led with not just on-field performance but off-field performance. He makes everyone accountable, and he leads by just example. And you can see, even in the interviews after the game, and how much it means to him and his family. It's not just about rugby league. It's about the culture and the family of being at the club. And he's the epitome of the perfect man you want leading your club.
Steve Stafford, you talk about families involved with your club and rugby league in general, and I often think of the Grant family when it comes to the Seagulls. Of course, I'm referring to Harry Grant, Melbourne captain and a mainstay for Queensland nowadays and the Kangaroos. His father, Paul, very much synonymous with your club, and another grand in George, a big contributor to what happened last Saturday night.
Yes, mate. Paul, one of my best friends, and also played rugby league with him early on in my career, our career, in the late 80s. And, mate, he's been a foundation of a lot of junior stuff with us, senior football coached for many years, and always a part of the club. Me and him, we solve the world's problems, and when I need some information or some advice, I always go to Paul. And we solve the world's problems in rugby league, and helps me out a lot, and helps our team out a lot, and our players, and always got great advice. And he's definitely one of the mainstays of the club when it comes to advice. And, you know, you can see that through his own sons, Harry, George, and the other two, Billy and Paul Jr. He's a great person to have around your club for knowledge, and just really loves the game.
And one of those kids you mentioned, George Grant, very much a super sub in that grand final for the Gulls.
Yeah, mate, Georgie's getting on a bit. He's the second eldest, and he's been struggling this year with a few injuries and a bit of age on him. And, yeah, definitely he is probably the best game I've seen him play for a long time. And he's... mate, he just loves it. I was talking to him before the game during the week, and he thought he wasn't going to play. He wasn't sure how the groin injury was going to go. And Saturday morning, I rang my coach, Sean Good, and I said, "What's happening?" He said, "No, George is playing." I said, "Righto, that sounds good to me." And, mate, you can see in his performance, you know, age and injury doesn't worry those guys who just want to put in that effort. And that's you know, you see that with Harry as well. He performs every week, no matter what's going on, and George is very similar. So, yeah, great effort from George. It was amazing.
Steve, back in the 90s, as you might remember, I got to call a fair bit of rugby league at Brown Park, including some grand finals for the local TV station. All grand finals are special, but this one a bit different because it wasn't at Brown Park. Was that a bit strange for some of the more senior players in the group, the fact that it wasn't at the spiritual home, given the fact that it's under reconstruction with that redevelopment?
Yes, mate, it was. It's hard. We don't particularly like going away from our home territory, and you know, we played all our finals, which I think this year was awesome. Each club got a go at having a final. You know, Billawheeler had their first final out there this year. You know, Brothers, Emu Park, Yeppoon, all got finals that were up in the finals. And, you know, we're sharing the love around with everybody. And I thought it proved to be a very great success for the Rocky Rugby League. And, you know, I've got to say out there at Rugby Park this week, last weekend was a very well run by Mick Johns, the president of Rocky Rugby League, and all the staff. It was... it was a very great day. Obviously, I'm happy because we won, but all the spectators and people that came were very, very happy as far as how things went this weekend. So it was good.
Steve, it was an interesting competition because Brothers finished minor premiers, as you well know, only dropped the one game in the regular season, didn't make the grand final. They bowed out in straight sets in the playoffs. But the competition marred by teams pulling out with forfeits here and there. Not a good look for bush footy. You're not alone, as you know. How do we fix it?
Mate, that's a good question, Jason. It's hard to put one finger on it as far as things go, but I feel that the QRL are putting too much emphasis on our volunteers and people that run the club. And they're chasing away a lot of those people that sort of help all these clubs get to where they are. And we are bush footy, and you know we're all volunteers, and we don't get paid, and we don't have the time that they think we do. And all this extra stuff that we do these days, you know, it makes it hard. And you know, you hate to see clubs that struggle like Fitzroy's and Tannum Sands and all these places all the teams in our competition that are foundation teams like Fitzroy's, mate, it is hard. I don't know the answer myself, but I think we need some more changes with the QRL about how we run that sort of program with all our volunteers, because they're the ones who first, without them we don't have rugby league, and it's making it very hard for all of those people.
Well, we wish you well in these difficult times for bush footy, right across the landscape in New South Wales and Queensland and beyond. But for the moment, Steve Stafford, congratulations on a great year with the Seagulls and on winning that premiership last Saturday night at Rugby Park. Well done.
Thank you very much, Jason.
There he is, Steve Stafford, a very happy, no doubt, president of the Seagulls at Yeppoon, after lifting the trophy in the Rockhampton Rugby League competition in season 2025. Stick with us. We will have more of Bushbeat right after this. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com, and time now to catch up with one of the victorious coaches from grand final action last weekend in bush footy. His club playing in the Central Burnett competition in Queensland. He's the coach of the Biggerton Warriors, and his name is Jamie Randall, and he's pretty happy to join us on Bushbeat because you got it. He lifted the trophy last weekend. Jamie, how was it in Biggerton in front of your hometown fans?
Oh, it was awesome, mate. Bit surreal, actually. It's just a great thing for the town and for the players, mate. Yeah.
Now, they tell me you've won it before as a player. Now you've done it as a coach. How do those two things compare?
Oh, well, as a player, you sort of worry about what you got to do for your team and just show up and do your job. Whereas a coach, it's there's a lot more goes into it. You know, we had a pretty big roster this year, and you got to tell some blokes, they haven't decide, and just stuff like that it's a lot harder job on you as a coach, I think, than a player in that respect. Like, I'm lucky enough to have, it was three coaches actually, Matty Curtis and Sam Landrigan and I, and we sort of bounce off each other. And so it's a lot different coaching than it is playing, for sure.
Now, your grand final success last weekend, it was anything but a fait accompli because we've been covering your competition like others this season on Bushbeat, and at one stage, in fact, early in the season, Gayndah, who you beat last weekend, they put 40 on you, if memory serves me right. And also, the last game before the finals, you got flogged by Mundubra.
Yeah, that's correct, mate. Yeah, early on in the season, Gayndah give us a touch-up at Eisvold. Yeah, we got a bit of a reality check there and had to regroup and go again, and we went pretty well all till the last game of the regular season. And Mundubra really coming up, played a really good brand of football, and give us a bit of a touch up, that's for sure. But sometimes that doesn't hurt you coming into finals. We regrouped and got stuck into it at training and worked out what we had to do to get the win the next week to get into the grand final.
Now, tell us about the atmosphere at Biggerton last weekend. You're in a town of, 700 people, but that didn't seem, I dare say, the case last weekend because I reckon they would have made a lot of noise.
Oh, mate, it was unbelievable. That's what I said to the boys at the start of the season. I sort of said that, Biggerton has always been a football orientated. Even when I was playing, that everybody used to get behind us, and it was great. But it was. I could never expect what happened on the weekend. It was just unbelievable. Like coming into town, every way out of town, there was balloons and streamers of maroon and gold. All the shops had done up big streamers and everything in the shop signs and stuff, and just the community support. Just people that don't follow rugby league, see you in the street, or the players are so excited about it,
How many people did you come across in the last week or so saying up the wires?
Oh, about 15,000, I reckon, mate. It was unbelievable. Everybody you see.
Well, you lost count.
Yeah, mate, it was unbelievable. Yeah, everybody, and not just in our little town, like our neighbouring towns, and that just right into the wires, mate. Yeah, it's good saying.
Well, I saw plenty of the photos on social media. I'm not sure who is responsible for that with your club, but they're doing a great job capturing all that positive energy going into the grand final. So hats off to everybody in your community. Can I ask you, in terms of the game itself, the Gladiators from Gayndah, they kept on coming. When did you think you had it in the bag?
Well, we didn't really. It was a tight right to the end. Well, the first half we played really good football. We played a pretty good brand of football. We come in and they were scoreless at half time, and that's what we sort of said at half time. We sort of we didn't want it to be our worst enemy half time, and we knew they'd regroup and come at us in the second half, which they did against Mandubra to get into the grand final. Mandubra had them on the ropes there, and they come out in the second half the same as they did in the grand final. And they really stuck it to us. It was sort of it could have went either way, really, right to the end, really. Yeah.
Now, the game was on Saturday, so you had Silly Sunday that followed. Tell us about your trip. They tell me you had a great day travelling to the Discovery Coast, a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, mate. Yep. So that's right. We had a pretty big night. Saturday night, a few of the boys didn't have any sleep. I was lucky I snuck off and got a few hours sleep, but we had a bit of a clean up down at the sports ground before we left and had a feed, had a bit of bacon and eggs, and all the boys got dressed up in their favourite superhero characters or movie stars, and off we went. We went to a couple of pubs on the way up there and watched the football in the Northern Districts Rugby League. The Childers were playing South Killeen. We got a few Childers boys that dual register for us, so we thought we'd go up and support them. And it was a good day, mate. It was a good day. It was then on the way home we went to a couple of more pubs and got home about 9 o'clock Sunday night, and everybody had a really good day.
Now, what about you for next season? Have you made any commitment to the club for 2026?
No, not yet, mate. Oh, they mightn't have me. We'll just have to see what happens. We got.
You're kidding.
We'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, no. I think all the boys are as keen as mustard to go again. They just loved it. Like the committee, the community, the sponsorship we got this year was it's just overwhelming, mate. And the players just love to play for Bigoton.
Well, congratulations on winning that Titan Industries Premiership for 2025. One final question before I let you go here on Bushbeat. And you're not alone here in your part of the world, in the Central Burnett. A lot of competitions have had forfeits this season, teams not turning up. What's the answer to fixing that problem? It's become a real blight on bush footy.
Yeah, that's a tough one, mate. Back when we played... when I played, I can't really remember it ever happening much. But I think these days there's just so many young blokes have got to go out of town for work. A lot of fly-in, fly-out workers. I know us. Like we had 50 names on the books this year, and then a couple of times through the season, you were looking for one or two blokes to fill your bench. And I don't really know what can be done about it. Like, it helps that we've got dual registration. Like we had a couple of blokes from Childers come and one bloke from Harvey Bay come and played with us, which helps. And I know the other clubs are the same. But, I think it goes back to not as much work in the communities and people having to go away for work. The solution, I have no idea, really. I have no idea.
All right, Jamie Randall, we might leave it there. Again, congratulations on your success in the Central Burnett and enjoy the off-season.
Thanks, Costo. Good on you, mate. Bye.
There he is, the premiership-winning coach of the Bigoton Warriors, speaking to us here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. We'll have more right after this. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com and our statewide scoreboard for Queensland, which includes no less than 4 grand finals, as mentioned last weekend in our news here on rugbyleague.com. Firstly, the Gulf, and congratulations to the Mornington Island Raiders, who defeated the Normanton Stingers 18 points to 8 in the grand final last Saturday at Normanton. The Raiders quite lucky, I must say, in that their same-day semi-final opponents forfeited. Conversely, the Stingers had to get past the Doomadgee Dragons in their semi-final. They did that, but they couldn't match the very fresh Raiders in the season finale. In Cairns last Saturday, the action for the finals was on the Tablelands. Suburbs crushed Ivanhoe's 56-6. And despite a big pro-Atherton crowd, as you can well imagine in that part of the world, minor premiers Brothers defeated the Chooks 38-12. So Brothers through to the big one. Their opponents to be either the Cockatoos or the Roosters. They'll go head-to-head in the preliminary final. That's coming up on Sunday at 3 o'clock at Stan Williams. In Townsville last weekend, an old boys reunion for Souths, as we mentioned last week on the show. The Red Men enjoying a weekend off thanks to the bye, and from all reports, a massive weekend over on Magnetic Island, which I got to say is a terrific spot, perfect for koala spotting and bushwalking if you're into that sort of caper. I certainly am. And I got to say I was there only 12 months ago doing that, and that was 40 years after my first ever visit to Maggie, which coincided with the 1984 Foley Shield Grand Final, featuring the triumphant Mackay Sea Eagles, my hometown, and a young winger for Mackay by the name of Dale Shearer. And as for the footy, locally last weekend in Townsville, the final round of action, Burdekin upset Herbert River 24-18. Norths caused an even bigger boil-over, the Devils knocking off Brothers 32-16, and Western Lions edged out Centrals 22-20. The final standings in Townsville, Souths, the undefeated minor premiers, finishing on 36 points. Brothers second on 27, Herbert River and Western Lions on 20 points, and outside the final four, Burdekin 16, Norths 15, Charters Towers 14, and Centrals with the spoon on 12. This Sunday at Jack Mansky, we've got Herbert River versus Western Lions from 2:30 and what is sudden death, followed by the game between Souths and Brothers. Worth noting that Brothers are the away team at their own home ground, the winner of that second game getting direct passage to the grand final. In Mackay last weekend, the second weekend of the finals, Brothers ending the season for arch rivals Magpies, Brothers winning 38-18, and big spending Souths into the grand final. No surprise there with that squad that they've put together this season. The Sharkies defeating Moranbah 36-26. This Sunday, the Miners get another chance. They play Brothers in the preliminary final at what locals still call the Junior League grounds, with the winner to then meet the Sharks in the season finale. In the Central Highlands last Saturday night, the grand final in the railway town of Bluff, the Rabbitohs took on the Middlemount Panthers, and congratulations to the Bunnies. Bluff hammering the Panthers 38 points to 6. In the beef capital of Rockhampton, as you heard earlier in the show, the Yeppoon Seagulls taking out the premiership last weekend at Rugby Park, while that construction work continues at Brown Park. And for the record, 32-16, the Gulls over the defending champions Emu Park, with the Emu's captain coach, Tico Hooper, in a very strange selection, deciding to put himself on the bench for the biggest game of the season. In Bundaberg last weekend at Salter Oval, East edged out Brothers 42-40 in a dramatic and action-packed preliminary final, which went to extra time and then golden point. What a game that would have been. Then this Saturday we've got the grand final, of course, the Magpies to take on the minor premiers Waves. Kick-off is 6 o'clock. And I should point out that East, they finished second last after winning only a handful of games all season. That's the regular season. And now 80 minutes away from potentially lifting the trophy. A shame that we're not in Bundy this week calling that grand final. In the Northern Districts last Sunday, week 2 of the playoffs on the Discovery Coast, in the knockout game, Miriam Vale crushed Avondale 38-14. And the Isis Devils advancing to the big one with a 44-18 victory over South Callan. Coming up on Sunday, all roads lead to Childers. For the preliminary final, the Magpies to take on the Sharks. Kick-off is 2:30. The winner to tackle the Devils in the Premiership decider the following weekend. In the Central Burnett last weekend, as you heard before the last break, the Binghamton Warriors celebrated after lifting the trophy in front of their hometown supporters. And for the record, in their comeback season, their first since 2018, the Wars winning that grand final against minor premiers Gayndah 18 points to 10. In the South Burnett last weekend, the preliminary final, Kingaroy scraping home against Mergen 36-34. This Saturday, the grand final at Cherbourg. The Hornets, having last weekend off, now getting ready for what could well be an epic battle with the Red Ants. Kick-off is 3 o'clock. On the sunny coast last weekend, the opening weekend of the playoffs, in the qualifying semi-final at Maroochydore, the Swans beat Coolum 14-6. And at Pirate Park, in what was sudden death, Kawana defeated Noosa 24-18. This Saturday, the minor semi-final, Kawana v Coolum. The venue is Ronnie Cargill Oval, which is the home of the Colts, who happen to be the away team this week. Why? Well, because they're the team that's listed first. That's the way I see it anyway. In the major semi-final at Woodford, Stanley River. And by the way, they're listed first at home at Woodford. They take on the Swans, both games starting at 5:30. In Ipswich, the final round played last weekend. Redbank Plains beat the Jets 32-14. Norths wiped out West End 44-blot. And Brothers beat the Fassifern Bombers 32 points to 6. The final standings, Redbank Plains 23 points, Jets 21, Brothers 16, Bombers 12, Norths 10, and West End collecting the spoon with 8 points. This Saturday at 7 o'clock under lights, we've got Redbank Plains v the Jets. They do battle once again at the North Ipswich Reserve. On this occasion, it's a qualifying final. And then on Sunday at the same venue from 3 o'clock, it's do or die finals footy, Brothers v Bombers, also for the second time in a week. In Toowoomba, last weekend, the final round, Gatton won 40 points to 14 at Highfield, so the Hawks going through the whole season undefeated. A great achievement indeed for Gatton. And elsewhere, we had the home teams having success across the board. Valleys thrashing Gundawindi 36-10. Brothers 48-30 winners against Oakey. Pittsworth defeated Warwick 32-22 and Wattles 58-28 over Dolby. The final standings, according to the portal, undefeated Gatton 31 points, Wattles and Brothers 26, Pittsworth and Valley 16, Gundawindi 15, Warwick 14, Dolby 13, Oakey 8, Highfield 7 and South finishing last on 4 points. On Saturday, we've got the elimination final at Pittsworth. It's the Danes v Valleys from 6:30. And then on Sunday, the qualifying final at Platts Oval, where Brothers are the away team, Wattles, obviously the host club. That game starts at 2:30. In Roma, last Sunday, the grand final at Bassett Park, and it was Wallumbilla Surratt who reigned supreme. The Red Bulls, upstaging Cities, 22 points to 8. After the out-of-towners led 14-0 at the break. And quite a remarkable result, this one. Cities, the defending champions and minor premiers, they'd lost only 2 games all season. And also quite important that we remember that the Red Bulls lost young Kobe Fechner during the season. A terrible story, a terrible tragedy, without going into those details. And just beautiful to see the players coming to the graveside, as sad as that all sounds, coming to the graveside to pay their respects during the week after lifting the trophy, paying their respects to their former teammate, the late Kobe Fechner, and his father, who passed away only a few years ago. May they rest in peace. And finally, to the Gold Coast last weekend, embarrassment for local officials with the once mighty Southport Tigers forfeiting their final round fixture. That was against Burleigh, who, if they had the chance, I reckon they could have racked up 3 figures. A shocking situation for Southport, once bankrolled by business tycoon Clive Palmer. I wonder how much they would have been fined for this no-show. I wonder if that even happened. I wonder how much it was. I bet they still get to play first grade next season. What is the Gold Coast Rugby League saying about this? Well, absolutely nothing from what we can see, and that does absolutely zip for the credibility of the local league. So just the 2 games played on the Goldie last weekend. Tugun defeated Runaway Bay 42-34 and Currumbin 38-6 over Helensvale. The final standings, undefeated Burleigh 34 points, Currumbin and Tugun 20, Runaway Bay 17, Helensvale 11, Southport with the big fat 0. This Saturday, the knockout final, Runaway Bay versus Helensvale at 3 o'clock at Bycroft Oval. And 24 hours later, a qualifying final at Merv Craig. We've got Currumbin v Tugun. Coming up, our final segment, as usual, encompassing 3 more states, plus the top end, where there was more off-field drama last weekend. We'll tell you about that and more after the break on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat and our final segment, where we look at the greatest game of all in 3 states, plus the Northern Territory. Firstly, Victoria and the Melbourne Storm Premiership. Last weekend, the final round. Just the 1 game played. Northern Thunder, 36-20 over Sunbury Tigers. Truganina won by forfeit against Altona. And I've got to say, a pathetic way for the Roosters to end their season. The final standings, Northern Thunder 30 points, Truganina Rabbitohs 22, Casey Warriors and Sunbury Tigers both 18, Altona Roosters 6 and Sunshine Cowboys on 2. Interestingly, no sign of the Thunderbolts. Now, we can only assume they quit the league or got punted. They took the field on August 16 and since then disappeared like Harold Holt. This Saturday, the semi-finals with Casey hosting Sunbury at 5:35, and 10 minutes later, kick-off in the second semi-final with Thunder at home to the Bunnies. In the Goulburn Murray, the finals kicked off last weekend at Corowa. The Cougars snuck past Wang 22-20, and at the same venue, Tumbarumba 34-12 over Shepparton. This Sunday, the preliminary final in the Goulburn Valley, it's Cougars v Eagles. Kick-off is 2 o'clock, and the winner to face Tumba in the grand final at Glenrowan on Sunday, September 7. In South Australia, the elimination final last Sunday, Warriors defeated the Eels 34-20 at Lewis Reserve. Coming up, the grand final, that's on Sunday. Kickoff is 3:45 and it's Black Swans v Warriors. Ayr Park is the venue. In Western Australia, the Fuel to Go and Play Premiership, the playoffs kicked off last Saturday. The major semi-final, minor premier South Perth, they beat the defending champions North Beach 50-32. And in the knockout semi, Woolwich Bears defeated Freo Roosters 34-24. This weekend, the preliminary final with the Eagles up against the Bears and the winner to face Samasoni Langi and the Lions in the season finale. Pretty fair player there working the scrums for South Perth, I might say. He won an NRL premiership in the Northern Hemisphere, a Challenge Cup. He played for Tonga, played for France. Quite an impressive CV. And nowadays plying his trade in WA. Finally, the top end in the Dabsco Premiership. The finals also started there last weekend. So did Mango season, from what we understand. Some ugly scenes up in the grandstand at league headquarters, as reported in the news on rugbyleague.com. Officials quickly launching an investigation, keeping Tony Crow on his toes. And I reckon any more investigations and Tony could end up the officer in charge of Darwin CIB. On the field, in the major semi, Litchfield beat Brothers 34-26. In the knockout semi, a shock result as Nightcliff edged out Palmerston 22-20 after the final hooter. And I say shock because Nightcliff had won just a handful of games all season. Now the Dragons, one win off a grand final. And that's this weekend, the preliminary final. It's Brothers and Nightcliff, the winner to face the Bears in the decider. And kick-off, by the way, this Saturday, 5:50 local time. And just a shame, I got to say, that all week they've been talking about those half a dozen lunatics in the top end, those lunatics in the crowd, instead of the game coming up this weekend. That's our show for this week. As always, thanks to Steve Mascord, who's been in Barcelona this week, but making sure we still hit the airwaves right around the world here on rugbyleague.com. For now, this is Costo signing off on Bushbeat. Stick around. The news is next.